Hey yo, what's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube?
What the heck? With another, our first ranking video. It's not going to quite be a tier list video. On Dead by Daylight. Do you want to explain what we're doing, Luke?
Yeah, so we're just gonna briefly go through each killer in the game, and we're gonna be ranking them from 1 through 10.
1 through 10, based on how powerful we personally think they are. So you'll get two different opinions. Most of them will be very similar, but yeah, and you'll probably see two different games going on in the background as we talk. One will be Luke playing killer, and one will be me playing killer. But let's begin with the Trapper.
Yes.
What are your thoughts, Luke?
Trapper. He is outdated. He's old. He's an old man. He's not good anymore. He's like not even a good trapper. Like compared to the Hag, whose traps just work better. So for Trapper, I would probably rank him like a 2 out of 10.
All right, 2 out of 10 for you. For me, I'd go over one good and one bad thing with everybody mostly. That's the quickest way, so I don't take too long. He shuts down loops, which is very good. You know, he can shut down some strong pallets, some strong windows by putting his traps there, and some of those add-ons making the traps harder to see. But the problem is they take so long to set up that by the end of the game, unless you're getting a 3-gen on one side of the map or something, setting up your traps is going to not help you too much. It's very hard because it's slow to set up his power, and his power is not very strong. I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10. The next killer is the Wraith. Your thoughts?
For the Wraith, I feel like he is good, but he's not great for sure. But I do think he's a little bit better than average. He's got great mobility. He gets around really quickly. So I'd probably give him a 6 out of 10.
I agree with the mobility and stuff. He is easy to sneak up on survivors and uncloak quickly and get that first hit. The problem is his chase value, and it's pretty hard to get that second hit unless he goes back into stealth and then chases them and then uncloaks again, and then once he's uncloaked, he's basically an M1 killer and pretty useless, kind of like the Trapper. So he gets those first hits, but those second hits and those downs are much tougher to get with him. I give him a 5 out of 10. I'll go first on the next one. It's the Hillbilly. The Hillbilly, he has great traversal. He does have an overheat mechanic that's new, that was just recently added in this past year, which definitely hurts him a little bit, so he can't just chainsaw around the whole map infinitely. But he is still very strong. He travels very quickly. He gets insta downs. So great traversal on maps. The only things he struggle with is tight turns, in my opinion, on some of those indoor maps, and the overheat, like I just mentioned, are the cons. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give him a 8 out of 10.
All right. I agree with most of what you said there. He's fast, one-shot potential, but I'm going to actually drop the score down 1 and give him a 7 out of 10.
All right, that's fair. You know what? 7 out of 10 for me too.
All right.
That. I look at that and I say, 8's a little too much for him. The next killer is the Nurse, and you take it away.
All right, my main. Here we go. Okay, Nurse. Let's just start out with the obvious. 10 out of 10. Super good power. Ends chases quickly. Great mobility. Obviously, it does take a little bit of practice and skill to be good with her, but yeah, it's just a clear 10 out of 10 for me.
See, I agree with all of that. Very game breaking, can go through walls. Pretty much any map for a good Nurse is not a problem. The only small barrier is she's hard to learn, and hard to perfect. One of the hardest killers, but one of the most rewarding if you're good. So 10 out of 10 for me too. Michael Myers is next in this list.
Not Michael.
we know your past experiences with Michael Myers.
No.
Terrifying. You're terrified.
Yeah, he is very spooky. Most spooky killer in the game. for sure.
Oh boy, the problem is his tier 3, which he takes a while to get to, is pretty good, pretty solid, but he only has that for a certain amount of time, 60 seconds, and the rest of the time he's just met an average M1 killer like the Trapper without his traps. Given his terror radius is a little bit smaller, which is good, but he's good for 60 seconds, and it's not really worth all that build up just to be good. He needs a rework. That's what I'm saying. But in those 60 seconds when he's at tier 3, insta down, he is a pretty solid killer. So I'm going to give him a 4 out of 10.
Okay, so for Mike, I struggle a lot with him for some reason. He always tunnels me. He destroys me just about every game. I don't know why, but 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. All
3
right.
out of 10.
All right. Good. The Hag is next. And what I had to say about the Hag is that it is nearly impossible to not trigger her traps. You got to crouch walk over her traps in order to not trigger, and sometimes when she's coming, you have to run across it. So it's very hard. It's going to take a long time to cross her traps to grab somebody off the hook and get a rescue or whatever. So it's very hard to not trigger her traps. Although she does have, she obviously does have to set those up and everything, but it's not as bad as the Trapper. The setting time is not as bad as the Trapper, but that's a small con. A 9 out of 10.
Yep, I agree with most of what you said there. Just a little bit of setup time, but yep, the traps are really strong once they're all ready to go. So I would probably give her a 9 out of 10 as well.
The Doctor. What do you think about the Doctor, Luke?
I think the Doctor is decent, but also pretty average. I can't see him as good. So I'm going to say he's a 6 out of 10.
After careful reconsideration, I have also decided to give him a 6 out of 10 instead of a 7 or an 8 or whatever I said the other day when we were talking about this. He shuts down loops, which is pretty good. With his shock, he can prevent you from vaulting a pallet or vaulting a window or dropping a pallet, and that can be good. And he can increase your madness and make it easier to find you later in the game. He also has that static blast or whatever, where it's just a giant circle around him that he blasts. Which if he knows that you're near, it helps him find exactly where you are if you're hiding behind a bush or something. So that's good, but limited range on all of those. Without add-ons, it is pretty short range on both of his static blast and his regular static shock or whatever. And the cooldown on the big ranged static blast is pretty long. So he gets a 6 out of 10 from me as well. What are your thoughts on the Huntress?
The Huntress. I feel like she is definitely good. Definitely one of the stronger killers in the game. Her range is just always useful. Her biggest downside is that she's just slow in general, so not good in just a basic chasing fashion. So I'd probably give her a 7.
Yeah, I would probably give her a 7 as well. I agree, she has limited amount of hatchets. Once she runs out of hatchets, she's a basic M1 killer, so basically fairly useless. And she has to stop and refill, and that gives the survivor time to run away. The thing is, really good ones that can aim won't really need to go back and stop at a locker to grab more to continue a chase. They'll get the down, they'll grab some hatchets while you're down, then hook you. And so I give her a 7 out of 10 because you have to be fairly skilled with her, and she's fairly useless once she runs out of hatchets. The Cannibal, aka Leatherface or Bubba, I personally would probably put him at about a 5. A 5 sounds about right in my opinion. Maybe a 4. I'm gonna give him a 5 because he does not have good map traversal, so he can't really fully take advantage of his perks like barbecue and chili and run across the map super fast. But his insta-down chainsaw can be mean when there are a bunch of survivors grouped up together. You can mow them all down. So very, it definitely depends on the situation. Some situations he's great in. The majority he is not so good in. 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd give him a 5 out of 10 as well. His power just isn't that strong. I mean, it's good for beginners. It's very easy to use, but it's not great for traversal like Hillbillies is. And so, yeah, just a 5 out of 10.
Freddy Krueger or the Nightmare. What do you think about him?
Freddy, this is a guy I don't know too much about. I'm not too experienced playing against this guy. I don't see him too often. But when I do, he seems pretty strong. His traps, annoying. Dream state, annoying. So I'd say he's probably a 7 out of 10.
Yep, I agree with that a lot of his stuff can be annoying, but he obviously got a big nerf recently, which definitely hurts him, making it easier for survivors to wake up from the dream state and stay awake for longer. Definitely nerfing his pallets and his blood pools that he can put down. So he has definitely got nerfed quite a bit. He's not terrible, but I'd give him a 6 out of 10. His teleporting is good, but he's just comparing him to his past self, you can see he's in shambles. The pig, I personally would give the pig I want to say 5, but I'm going to give her a 4. Her charge attack can be useful rarely, but it's not really worth it to stay crouched and be walking from generator to generator just to get a charge with your pounce and getting a hit like that. So that's fairly useless. Her one good thing is her trap she puts on your head, and that slows down the game because you're searching jigsaw boxes in order to get that off, and it gives her a little bit of slowdown. One survivor not doing gens, but besides that, fairly a shit killer. 4 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I don't think she's good either. Most of her abilities are kind of underwhelming. It does slow the game down, but you have plenty of time to get the traps off. So good players can just ignore it for a while even. So I'm also going to give her a 4 out of 10.
And the other thing to note is that the traps don't start beeping and going down until a generator is completed after. So a lot of good survivors, especially survive with friends, are going to, if they all have helmets on, they're not going to complete a generator. They're going to get all of them off, so it doesn't become a problem later on. So good communication can easily counter the best parts about her. But the next one is a personal favorite of yours, I hear. Called the Clown.
Disgusting. This guy's awful. So awful.
Disgusting. Yeah. But not in a good way.
Yeah, not the Mike kind of way. Just flat out bad.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
And not spooky either.
What are you giving him?
I'm giving him a 1 out of 10. If you have a single brain cell, you're going to escape this guy. It's that easy.
Holy shit! Believe it.
I would have to agree, although I would probably give him a 2 out of 10 because of his buff. At least now he has a second type of bottle that can obviously speed him up, not just one that slows survivors down. So he is a little bit more useful than he used to be, which is still sad because he is one of the worst killers in the game still. This helped him a tiny bit, but not much. But yeah, like you said, he is pretty shit, and what he excels in is in chases. He shuts down loops by putting the slowdown gas. His bottles, he throws them in the and slows down survivors so they can't loop the exact same loop over and over. But still, not great. It's again very situational, and 1 out of like 10 different aspects of the game is all it covers. So, yep, I'm giving it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, he's exactly what his name would suggest. A clown.
A clown. Yep, he belongs in the circus, not in this game.
Yeah.
Maybe if they switched him out for Pennywise, maybe I'd be a little more intrigued. But it's a failed Stephen King adaptation that just turned out shit. Although he does cut people's fingers off, so he's got that going for him, I guess.
I guess there's something.
That there is something. There's that. but yeah. The spirit. What do you think about the spirit?
The spirit, similar to the nurse, ends chases quickly. Good mobility. You do have to listen pretty carefully, but overall, she's just a 10 out of 10 from me.
This one's a little bit harder. She's definitely a top tier killer. But I don't think she's definitely not better than the nurse, and I don't know compared to the hag. So I'm gonna give her. I was thinking an 8, but I'm gonna give her a 9 because again, pretty solid mobility. The only small things that sometimes hurt her is her cooldown, or I don't know. I don't play her too much, so I don't have a whole lot of experience with her. But she's pretty solid. You run the right perks where you can hear survivors' grunts of pain, and you'll be fine. You'll be getting 4 kills easily with her. So 9 out of 10. The Legion is next. I am going to give them probably another average 5 out of 10. They definitely are good, like the Wraith, in getting that first hit, getting them survivors injured. Because what they do is they pinball between survivors, basically, inflicting the deep wound, hitting one and the next. But once all 4 survivors are injured, then they're just, again, another killer, another M1 killer. So they do excel in injuring everybody, but then after that, they don't really have much going for them. So I give them a 5.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm probably going to disagree with you here. For me, it's more of like a 3 out of 10, just because after the initial hit, they have nothing going for him. It's just basic killer, pretty easy to avoid. So I'm just going to give it a 3 out of 10.
The main reason I personally give them a 5 is because they have that fast map traversal when they run, and they also get notifications when they inflict a deep wound on someone. They see anybody else who's moderately close to them who's not been inflicted with that deep wound. So it does give you some information, and it is quick traversal. So I think those are what they have going for it, personally.
All right, the Plague. Another killer I haven't seen too often, but I am aware is pretty strong when played correctly. She's got the good range to knock people down. She can infect survivors, put it onto generators and stuff like that. So I'm going to give her a 7 out of 10.
I was thinking 7, but I'm actually going to go an 8 out of 10 because when she pukes on you so much, eventually you become broken and you can't heal, so you're basically always going to be injured unless you decide to cleanse in one of her pools. And if she takes that corrupt purge, the red purge from her pools, she can easily get you down. She can shoot it out, hit you over rocks, over any obstacles, basically. And then you don't even have to charge it up all the way as the Plague. You can just charge it up a little bit and then release it. And so she can be very strong. She does have bad traversal, and sometimes the RNG is bad when her pools, her fountains spawn in the corner, and she has to run all the way to the corner to get her purge. But her corrupt vile purge or whatever, but otherwise she's solid. She keeps survivors constantly injured or at least sick where they're coughing and you can easily hear them. And it's good. I personally think there's no win-win. They cleanse, they give you your corrupt purge. They don't cleanse, they're always going to be injured. So next one I'm going to start with is Ghostface, and this one is my main, I would say, although I do switch it up. This is the one I probably put the most time into. And while Luke probably is going to disagree, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Pretty good score, because he's got the stealth and he doesn't have to come out of invisibility like the Wraith, so he can be right in stealth and then swing right away and get the hit. He also has a stock mechanism, which is okay, kind of like Michael Myers. It can be okay sometimes, but it's more the stealth that really helps him, in my opinion. I think that alone is a 7 out of 10. But what do you think?
Yeah, I do have to disagree with you here. I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. Easily better than Mike, for sure. The power just is better. But also, similarly,
yes, that's true.
Similarly, he lacks any mobility. He's slow. and he relies on stalking, so I just can't see him as being strong, so I'm going to put him average at 5 out of 10.
That is true, although you can lane around corners, which is small little thing. Also, you can teabag, so it's great because
Wait a second.
survivors teabagging you, being toxic, you can teabag them back as Ghostface.
This is a game changer. I didn't know you could teabag.
Yes, sir, because you can crouch as Ghostface, which doesn't really help much, but it allows you to teabag them back, and it's great.
That is great.
The Demogorgon.
Bad.
What do you think?
Demogorgon
Bad?
is bad. Another bad character. He puts up portals that don't do too much for him. He's got some decent mobility there, which is why he gets a couple of points from me. But other than that, he's pretty basic M1 killer. So for me, I'm actually going to give him a 3 out of 10.
I'm going to go a little bit higher and give him a 4 out of 10. The portals can be good. He can detect when survivors are near his portals, so if he puts them near generators or doors at the very end of the game or whatever, it can definitely help. The problem is that, let's say you put it next to a generator and you forget about it, and the survivors do that generator. Unless the survivors cleanse your portal, which the only reason they could or should is because just points, then you've wasted 1 out of like your 5 or 6 portals right there, and you can't pick it up. Like, you can pick up traps as a trapper, but if you place a bad portal and they don't cleanse it, then you're shit out of luck with Demogorgon. His charge, his pounce kind of mechanic is kind of gimmicky. Sometimes it's okay, which gives him a little bit of points, but 4 out of 10. What do you think about the Oni?
The Oni. This guy makes me want to smash my desk because he one-shots me and he's way too fast, and that doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, he's probably going to blow right past us here. We should be okay, though. He sucks up your blood. It's very hard to counter that. You just kind of have to not get hit. So
Yeah.
I just think he's powerful. So I'm gonna give him an 8 out of 10.
I will agree exactly. An 8 out of 10. He gets obviously he just needs to get that first hit, and then he can get the ball rolling. He can see all the blood, the blood orbs floating around, so he can easily track survivors. When you jump over a pallet or a window, you drop a bunch of blood, so you just regularly chase them, and they'll feed you it. And then once he gets his rage, he goes crazy fast. You can do quick flicks and get hits around corners, much more easily maneuverable than like the hillbilly. So I would give him an 8. It's just sometimes, if you can't get that first hit, that's when he is a little bit weak, but it's not too hard for most people. So, what are your thoughts on the Death Slinger?
I kind of see him as just a slightly worse Huntress. He's another one of those ones that takes aim, range killer, but he does also have to drag them in to guarantee the hit. He has no mobility things going for him. So I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10.
I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10. He's pretty slow, and while at least the Huntress, she can throw her hatchet across the entire map if she wants to, his spear gun does have a range, so I do think he's not quite as good. I think he has a smaller tear radius, if I am correct, which helps him a little bit, kind of like the Huntress, how she has the humming more than she does the heartbeat. But I don't think the Death Slinger is that good. Again, you have to have good aim and everything. I think he balances out to just about average. 5 out of 10. Pyramid Head, aka the Executioner. I would probably give a... you go first on this one. I'm going to have to think.
Yeah, I've played him a little bit, and I feel like he's got some decent abilities. Sending people to cage automatically can be strong. You can kind of cut off certain parts of loops if you're good enough. You have ranged attack, and I feel like that all just kind of balances him out to a 7 out of 10.
I agree. I was thinking 6 or 7, and I'm going with 7 as well. Again, there's no guarantee that the people will cross your trail and become corrupted or whatever it is when they walk over your trail. So there's no guarantee that that'll work, but because they can easily just crouch over it. But the kind of ranged attack is definitely very strong through walls and through pallets to catch unsuspecting survivors. And like you said, if they do run over it, it gives them your location. You can see where they are, and then you could send them to a cage or Morium if it's their last hook automatically, without having to waste the extra couple of seconds. And it also prevents some other perks like borrow time and other survivor perks for when you get somebody off a hook. It prevents all that since you're sending them to a cage instead of a hook. So I would say 7 out of 10. Not great movement speed, but that's about it. The Blight, 6, I would say, out of 10. I know that the Blight can be top tier for some of the best people out there, but I just haven't seen it played the best, I guess. And so my personal opinion is it's kind of dumb. It's like the Hillbilly, but or the Legion, but you have to bounce off of stuff, and it just feels kind of stupid. I don't know. When I first saw this concept, I was like, wow, the developers really aren't trying anymore. They're just taking old powers and making them fucking autism spectrum, I guess. So,
You trying to say Blight rides the short bus?
That. He is short, that is true. That is something they had to fix because he couldn't see over most boxes and pallets and stuff when he first came out. But so yeah, maybe, but just yeah, he has some potential, but the fact that he has to bounce off of stuff all sped like is just it's dumb.
How many cigarettes have you got, lad?
What do you think?
He may be getting brain damage by bouncing off walls all the time, but I've seen some YouTube videos of this guy played right, and his mobility is nothing to laugh at. It's very good, and I feel like good players can play him to a very top tier degree. So I'm gonna give him an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Like I said, I think he has that potential to be up there, but I rarely see that. Nobody says, "Hey, look at me! I made Blight." They would be bullied, and they would probably uninstall the game. So, yeah, but I can see where you're coming from. What do you think about the twins?
The twins. I'll just start out by saying I think they are a 4 out of 10, maybe. They're not good. They don't have too much going for them. I mean, Victor, he's a pretty annoying little rat, but he doesn't do that much overall. I mean, I just don't think she's strong. 4 out of 10.
I'm agree exactly. 4 out of 10. Victor does give you notifications when survivors are running around him. If he's idle, so if you're controlling Charlotte and Victor's just out there, so you can position him next to a gen. That way, you'll get a little heartbeat thing when a survivor's getting close to him. Of course, they can crush him, and then you have to wait for him to respawn. But Charlotte herself, like, kind of useless, kind of slow. And Victor can be good, but you throw yourself at somebody, you attach him to them, and then you switch back to Charlotte, and you're back to the slow hunting people down. And I don't know. I don't know if what I said makes sense, but they're kind of dumb. Victor's good, Charlotte's not, and it evens out to a slightly under average 4 out of 10. But next is the Trickster.
Ugh.
And oh boy, the majority of the Dead by Daylight community was not happy. People were expecting, it could be something cool. It could be like a scientist. It could be this or that. And then we got a K-pop Joker looking guy, and everybody was like, oh, oof, yee.
And then they saw his power, and then they're like, oh,
oh. They're very similar to the Blight. I watched the very first gameplay, I don't know who, somebody on YouTube. I'm like, really? Can the devs really not come up with anything slightly original? It's just another fucking projectile killer, and I don't know. His he throws blades. He has about 60 of them. I think he has to hit 10 to get somebody injured. So he has to hit about 20 in order to down somebody. And that is in a row. If you hit, like 8, and then you're chasing them and you lose them for maybe 10 seconds, they'll slowly start to lose their laceration meter, and you'll have to hit a couple more. So yeah, he sucks, and he's slow, and they can literally just run you in a circle around a loop, which again, you'll slowly catch up and be able to hit them with your bat at least, but they can literally run you in a circle around the loop that you can't throw knives over, and that is how you outplay the trickster. It's stupid. He needs a big buff, in my opinion. I would say, I don't know, like putting him up at Trapper tier would be 3 out of 10. I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think I can do 4 out of 10. I think I gotta do 3 out of 10.
That's surprisingly high. I'm going 1 out of 10. What an absolute
Really?
trash can of a killer.
What'd you give the clown? A
The
1?
clown is
as
a
well?
1 as well.
Yeah.
My trapper's a 2.
Well, I'll give him a 2. I'll give him a 2. Switch Trickster to 2. I do think he's bad, but at least he has projectiles, and he does have the potential to, out in the open. You've seen sometimes when I'm playing him, you can just load him up with blades, and those are the few small times that he shines. But so yeah. And then last but not least, the Nemesis. What are your thoughts on the Nemesis?
Last but not least, I think he's definitely low down. He's pretty disappointing in strength. His tentacle whip, you got to charge it up, which can take some time, which is kind of useless. Like when you look at Pyramid Head, he has a similar range ability that can already go through pallets and windows off the start of the game. And I feel like he's underwhelming. His zombies are easy to dodge too, so I'm going to give him a 3 out of 10.
This will probably be another one where we disagree, just because I've had some practice with him, and I can see that he can be good a lot of the time. I was thinking a 6 out of 10, but now that I think about it, and now that I hear you say, oh, his zombies are underwhelming, I agree. I probably have to give him a 5 out of 10. Is what I would give him. He doesn't take too long to charge out his whip, luckily, and once he can level it up to tier 2 and tier 3, he can hit over pallets in longer range. He can break pallets with it. He becomes much better, but it takes about half the match to get to that point, and the zombies can either be helpful in some tight maps where you're chasing a survivor and they have no choice but to run towards a zombie because they're blocking the hall, or useless and the zombies end up blocking you, and that can really fucking suck. And the problem is there's not much incentive to counter the Nemesis. There's not much incentive to want to go and get those vaccines out of those boxes, because there's not much of a nerf to you. There's not too many downsides being infected by the Nemesis with his thing. Obviously, I mean, you want to heal up, but yeah, they need to make it like more like, if he hits you with it a couple times, it's like the plague. It makes you broken where you're always injured or something, because there's not enough incentive for you to go and get a vaccine out of the chest, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm gonna give him a 5 out of 10. So to finish this off, what would you say your top 3 strongest and bottom 3 weakest would be?
Okay, so my top 3 strongest I have here is Nurse, Spirit, and Hag. And the bottom 3 I have is Trickster, Clown, and Trapper.
I agree. You were about to say Nemesis. I was about to be like, hold up. You better not say that Trapper is better than Nemesis.
Hey, he was close. He was close.
Ooh. I would agree. I don't know exactly what order. The Nurse is definitely number 1, and I think the Hag and the Spirit could flip-flop for 2nd and 3rd position. I think the worst killer in the game would probably be the Clown, followed by the Trapper, and then followed by the Trickster. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop some likes, make sure to drop a couple comments, subscribe, well, maybe you will do this with the perks next time, except it'll be an hour long.
No, don't make us do it.
Yes, do it. I think he wants to. He definitely wants to.
No.
In fact,
It's torture.
but thank you guys for helping us hit 1,000 views on our Among Us tier list video. It was
That's
pretty cool. We hit 1,000 views under a week of our channel even being created. Like it'll be a week tomorrow. So that's cool. Keep commenting, liking. We'll get more videos out. We'll get some more Dead by Daylight 5th anniversary videos out. Just let us know. Give us some more ideas as well of what Dead by Daylight anniversary you want to see. And we'll get those videos out to you in the next couple of days. Until then, have a good night, have a good day wherever you are, and we'll see you in the next video.
Peace.